Alright, hello and welcome to Huck TV. We'll do episode 3 today. Now I'm already in the server. I just wanted to show you a couple of things that you can do in your own time, and this should be incorporated into your regular practice schedule, whether you practice against bots or you load up a deathmatch server in the community browser before you play just to warm up. You should be doing practice, and that means taking time outside of playing the competitive version of the game and actually working on your own skill set. So one of the main topics I wanted to cover today was attitude and a growth mindset. Alright, now we all know that some players might be playing for 3 or 4 years, and they may be in teams, they may be playing competitively, but they're just never really the team that's in the forefront of being a favourite to win a competition. I would say it's a lot to do with the general attitude of the players, and some of the players, I'd say some teams that they would probably have what you call a growth mindset, where they're not full with information. I'm sure everyone knows a lot about the game already, and that's one of the problems I found, is that when I was improving and I got to a plateau, or I got to a tier of skill or level or something like that, you would feel as if you've learned a lot, and you'd feel as if I'm probably the best at Counter-Strike that I've ever been. And then you might go through a patch where you don't have the same results, or you don't really own games consistently as much as you used to. And I'd simply say that that's because you've become comfortable or complacent, and you've developed what you would call a static mindset. And a static mindset is just a bit like things are the way that they are, and you don't really put much effort into thinking through things differently. So we'll talk about some situations where you can apply a growth mindset. It's a bit hard to give you particular examples because, quite frankly, I think this is something that everyone can establish on a personal level. But let's say that you were doing something really simple like trying to entry frag holes. You might have your own way of doing it. You might do something kind of fancy and complicated. You might just, you might come up here and I don't even know.
Throw in a flashbang!
It didn't work. Try that again. You might just come up here and throw
in a flashbang!
And then you might, come out and do something like that. But if we really think about it,
Counter-terrorists win!
there's a number of different ways that the counter-terrorists are going to hold holes. There's going to be the common positions, and then there's also going to be the feedback that you have from your team if they're pushing up
Go!
the middle area and they get some good comms off. Also, based on footsteps and stuff like that, you should be able to establish a range of where you think the counter-terrorists will be holding from. So your style of entry fragging is going to change dramatically based on what the other team is doing. So that'll apply to a growth mindset, because you're, I guess you're being a little bit more liquid with your play. You're adapting it to your environment, almost like water will flow through a creek or a crevice or something like that. It'll take the path of least resistance. So let's just say that we know that there's a guy here, and we know that there's no one playing balcony. We won't know for sure until we actually get someone who can see that. But from here, you can sort of establish that there's no one up there. Now let's say we do get to that point, we sort of do that, and we see some bullet holes there. I think it's quite likely to say that there's a guy playing in this range, and that by the same time you peek again, he could be anywhere here, sort of. So you've got a number of options. One of the things that you might do is you might actually just try and kill him. If you do, great, you've got the shot, you've opened up the site, you're alive, you've got one guy probably defending the site somewhere in the site. He might take it a little bit more passively now that he doesn't have the second person in the pit to help compensate for it. Or you might want to take things a bit differently. So instead of always doing the same thing, always think about how you could have done things differently. Let's say you do come out here and go for the frag and you get killed. What you should probably do if you approach this with a growth mindset is rewind things back in your head when you've died. Don't complain about it, but just look at what happened and accept it. And think to yourself, what could I have done differently? Alright, now some of the things that I'll think about when going through that thought process and evaluating what I did and what I could have done differently is I'll ask myself, did I do anything to let them know that I was there? So was my position compromised? That's a good question to ask yourself, because if you can reflect on that and sort of realize what you did, you might start being more conscious of when you should make noise and when you shouldn't. I would think as well, one of the things that you should ask yourself once you've died in a situation is, did I take more than one opportunity to try and kill him? And what I mean by that is, did you capitalize on the first opportunity, or did you overcommit yourself and try and kill him on the second or third or fourth opportunity, which I see a lot of people do? And sometimes what I mean by that is, you might come out and let's say you both miss. Alright, let's say he's right there in line with that door, and you come out and you... What I see a lot of people doing is they might come out and they'll keep fighting. And yeah, you might get a kill, but a lot of times what happens is they're already looking where you are, and it's a lot easier of a shot for them.
They so regret this
They
day.
already know where to aim, and then you peek again. So let's say that things went sour and we didn't get any kills. We come out here and we just keep fighting, and then boom, we die. I'll go, okay, I'll call it to my team first. I'll go, there's one circular, there's one in pit, there's one side, if I saw a guy's side. And then what I'll do, I'll go in this process of evaluation and think to myself, alright, I started running halfway up the halls, they probably heard me coming. I guess that could have done two things. It could have put them in a position where they were in my line of sight, because they probably wanted to kill me after they heard me coming. That can work to your advantage sometimes. Other times it's best not to make noise, because you might find them out of position or not quite ready to shoot. Other times you might completely whiff it, they're not looking at you, and then when you actually do get into the firefight, you're both shooting at each other. So that sort of evaluation will help you decide, I guess, you really just want to reflect on it and then think about what you could have done differently to make that situation go better for you next time. As well as that, you can also think to yourself, are there any better ways of doing that? So one way of doing it is just to come out and go like that, and you're in this corridor here, so what you're essentially doing is you're blocking the entrance if you have any teammates there. You're also, I guess you're not taking any more angles off them. So one of the things that you could do, I guess you can do something different like that. Now it's a bit risky, but if you do have a team and you've decided that you want to play it aggressively by taking that side, I would say getting out and into the side and really just being willing to die, but also knowing that you have the capability of trading shots with all of the defenders and being confident that you can actually pull those shots off. It's going to give you a lot more mobility when it comes to these situations, and you'll find that being aggressive when you take sites is going to help you so much more than just trying to be the person that always gets that sort of first chance shot when you get it, because there's no guarantee that you'll always hit the shot, and essentially you'll find yourself in a position where your position's compromised, they know where you are, you haven't taken any extra map control than what you already had before you got to that position. So we talked about different ways that you can entry frag that. So let's say there's no one there, there's no one really peeking that on a frequent basis, so when you get to this point, you're sort of out of options. You're like, oh okay, well I know that someone's probably going to be looking here, but I can't really pick them off right now because they're not trying to fight me. So you've essentially taken this whole area of the map, which is a good advantage, but if they're playing defensively, you don't really have any way of capitalizing on that just yet. So we'll pretend we have two people here, and there's a number of different ways you can do it. This is something you should talk about before you actually execute, is how you want it to be executed, because execution is huge. Makes a huge difference to the final outcome of the round. There's one thing for a team to say, let's go hard B, or let's go hard ramps, or let's go hard, take A quick, because teams you'll find will be able to execute the same strat with a huge degree of variance in how it actually pulls off. So I would say some bad ways of executing would be to just come to this point with the first person and then maybe trying to come out, because then you've got like two people knowing exactly where you are. You're standing in a position where you're crossfired from two angles, and if you haven't made the shot on this guy already, chances are they're both going to be able to shoot you relatively soon. So in some situations it's probably best just to get out and just take the map control. You've got a guy behind you, and essentially what you want to get him to do is to cover the angles that you missed. So if you think about it in your head, in the way that you choose a route or a movement, you're not just thinking about where you're able to shoot, but you're also thinking about the line that your body or the line that your head will take and how it will look on their screen. So doing something like this is quite good, because you're sort of using a circular motion to get out of this exit. And it may not be the swiftest way of getting out, and I'm not saying that jumping down there is necessarily the best thing, but you do have plenty of options when it comes to stuff like that. You might come out and do there, or you might come out and do something like that. But I find these aggressive plays are really, really good, because you'll get into an area where it's not necessarily being watched. Like, no one really sits. I mean, people do it. If you just happen to jump in the pit while someone's sitting here, it's a bit of bad luck, but you've got the comms off, you've got the map control, you've opened up this area of the site so that the rest of your teammates can come out. And ideally what you're doing as an entry fragger is, like, yeah, it's great if you get kills, and you should always be aiming to get your entry frag, but the way I look at entry fragging is, you're there to take the site. Like, you kill one, you know where the other one is, and you immediately just go for goal to kill him. Now, you can really, from there, like, I think if you can kill the two defenders at A, you've really got the option here of now saying, alright, well, I can set up and try and hold off the retake, or I can definitely go and put some pressure on the rotators and make it even harder for them. The thing is when they're rotating, they kind of expect someone to be aggressing them, and it's kind of like a bit of a, it's definitely a risk. I wouldn't say it's like good or bad, but I'd say what I recommend, just for the purpose of like growth mindset, is you should definitely test both styles of play and know why each of them is good and bad, because when it comes to competition time, you need to be able to know exactly what is required in each situation to win. But not only that, if you purposely go into a situation and decide, I'm going to play this passively, or I'm going to play this super aggressively and capitalize on this,
We must move.
all you're simply doing is just making a conscious effort to do something in a certain way. And when it comes down to it, if we talk about growth mindset and playing at a competitive level, one of the things that separates the good players from the the not so good is that they're flexible and they can adapt. And sometimes needing to change your play style is just really what is required to get a winning round. Anyway, yeah, we'll call that a video. That one's pretty much it. I'll do some videos, I'll do some other videos showing you some practical skills, just how you can work on your movement, crosshair placement, your aiming, your rifle control and recoil control. I think they're very basic skills that everyone sort of needs to know, and people sort of need to know and understand the mechanics of the game, so that when they're in situations that might seem like they could be pressure situations, they could be really important, you're doing everything naturally. You don't have to sort of you're not struggling to get that kill. Like, I'll show you what I mean. A lot of people, they might get into a situation where there's a guy here, it's a 1v1, they sort of and they could just be both firing dead off, like you're pointing at them but your bullets are going a little bit above. So something that like everyone should know is the sort of distance on their screen in which the crosshair kicks, so that when you're at that point in your recoil spray, you sort of know how far down you want to be aiming. So we'll just do an example here. I'll do the recoil pattern here. And what I can see is that on my screen, I'm just holding my fingers up to the screen, and that looks about 2 inches on my screen. But we'll just make my crosshair huge, so that we can see. Alright. I'm about 1 extra bar above, the bullets are landing about 1 extra bar above the top of the tip of the crosshair, so that means you can spray at any range to a varying degree of success. So if there is someone here and you are in a mid spray, as in like maybe you do something like that, you know that that head height is around about 1 bar above your crosshair. Let's say you do something, I wouldn't say it's recommended to be spraying at distances, long distances, but in saying that, I've done it and pulled it off. Other times I haven't, so it's a bit of a hit and miss. But yeah, if you are spraying at this distance, you sort of want to know, you sort of want to be accurate, so I'll just spray. I ran out of bullets. You just want to use the distance on your screen as a yardstick. So all of those bullets are hitting the truck, and that's pretty good gripping. That's person sized. Not every bullet is going to hit them, but most of the time it takes 3 or 4 bullets to kill someone, and if you do get a headshot, that's great. So I'll do some videos showing you recoil control and crosshair placement and stuff like that, and yeah, enjoy the video for now. Just remember, subscribe. There is a giveaway draw. I'm giving away a little chatterbox, and that's being drawn on the 30th of April. Yeah, so first 5 subscribers will be in the draw for that. As well, I do plan on making a few more videos like this, so if you can leave a comment with what you'd like to see covered in the future. I'll just be talking about certain subjects and sharing my advice, and if I can, I'll show you ways that you can practice those things, so you'll be able to get the information and also have something you can take away to actually practice. Alright, well that's it for now. I'll see you next time, and hit subscribe.